The ballroom of the Grand Arch Hotel in Manhattan glittered like a scene from a glossy magazine. Crystal chandeliers casting diamond light over tables draped in white linen, the air thick with the scent of orchids and old money. For Daisy Miller, a 22-year-old scholarship student from a small town in upstate New York, it felt like stepping onto a foreign planet. She smoothed the hem of her borrowed black cocktail dress, simple, off the rack, the only thing her roommate could lend her that fit, and tried to blend into the shadows near a towering ice sculpture of the New York skyline. This was Columbia University's annual alumni gala, an event she'd only agreed to volunteer at because her financial aid package required community engagement hours. Now, tray of champagne flutes balanced precariously in her hands, she felt like an extra in someone else's life story. Laughter rang out in polished accents, conversations drifted about summer houses in the Hamptons, internships at Goldman Sachs, trust funds, and venture capital rounds. Daisy scanned the crowd for a familiar face from her classes, but everyone looked like they belonged, effortlessly confident, effortlessly wealthy. Then she saw him, Mark Harrington, her ex-boyfriend from freshman year, weaving through the crowd with that same entitled swagger that had once charmed her and later crushed her. On his arm was his new girlfriend, a leggy blonde in a designer gown that probably cost more than Daisy's annual tuition. Mark's eyes locked onto hers across the room. His smile sharpened, predatory, triumphant. He was heading straight for her. Panic surged through Daisy like ice water. She couldn't face him. Not like this. Not alone, serving drinks like the charity case he always accused her of. Being C? You never fit in my world, he'd said when he dumped her for someone with a last name that opened doors. She needed a shield. Now. Her gaze darted frantically, landing on him. He stood alone near a marble pillar, tall and imposingly broad-shouldered, in a charcoal Tom Ford tuxedo that hugged his frame like it was custom-made, because it almost certainly was. He held a glass of scotch but hadn't touched it, surveying the room with an expression of refined boredom, the look of someone who attended these events out of obligation, not enjoyment. Dark hair, sharp jawline, storm gray eyes. He looked like he owned the place. Or at least half of Manhattan. It was insane. Reckless. But desperation overrode sanity. Daisy set down her tray on a passing waiter's station and marched toward him, heart pounding. He noticed her approach, one brow arching in mild curiosity. She didn't speak, couldn't. She reached up, grabbed the lapels of his tux, rose on her toes, and kissed him. It wasn't gentle or romantic. It was a crash, lips firm against his, tasting of her strawberry lip balm and sheer terror. A 3-second declaration, I'm not alone. I've moved on. Back off, Mark. She pulled away, mortification flooding her cheeks. His gray eyes were wide with shock, lips parted. He smelled like cedarwood cologne and power. I'm so sorry, she stammered, stepping back. But he didn't explode. Didn't call security. Instead, the shock melted into something else, amusement? Understanding? A slow, devastating smile curved his mouth, transforming his face from remote to warmly human. Are you okay? He asked, voice low and smooth, like aged whiskey. She blinked, brain short-circuiting. He glanced over her shoulder, where Mark had frozen mid-stride, face twisting in confusion, then back to her, that smile turning conspiratorial. Because as far as I'm concerned, he murmured, that was the highlight of my night. Daisy followed his gaze. Mark scowled, then pivoted sharply, dragging his girlfriend away. Threat neutralized, adrenaline crashed, leaving her shaky. I am so sorry. My ex was coming over, and I panicked. I needed him to think that you'd upgraded, he finished, perceptive in a way that unnerved her. Consider the message delivered. He looked thoroughly defeated. He extended a hand. Gabriel. Daisy, she managed, shaking it. His grip was warm, firm. Let me buy you a real drink, he said, nodding toward the quieter lounge bar. Non-alcoholic if you prefer. You look like you could use one after that Oscar-worthy performance. She should say no. But something in his eyes, kind, intrigued, made her nod. Over coffee, hers, and scotch, his conversation flowed effortlessly. He asked about the worn paperback peeking from her tote, 100 Years of Solitude, and suddenly she was talking animatedly about magical realism, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, the magic of stories that felt like home. He listened intently, asking questions that showed he'd actually read the book, not just skimmed the Cliff's notes. In turn, she confessed her dream, opening a cozy bookstore cafe in Brooklyn one day, shelves crammed with classics and new releases, the air rich with coffee and paper. Most rich guys would patronize her. Gabriel leaned in, gray eyes alight. That's brilliant. A sanctuary for stories. People need that more than another overpriced gym. He scribbled an address on a napkin. There's a hidden gem in the village at Terrible Coffee, but the rare first editions are unmatched. Meet me there tomorrow? 3 o'clock. It wasn't a question. It was an invitation laced with challenge. Daisy stared at the napkin. This man was a stranger. A gorgeous, enigmatic stranger. But the way he looked at her, like she was fascinating, ignited something reckless. She went. The bookshop was a narrow, dusty haven on Bleecker Street, stacks towering chaotically, the bell jingling like a secret. Gabriel was there in jeans and a cashmere sweater, looking relaxed, almost boyish.